Welcome everybody to another CTC webinar. My name is Sean Zervis, Technical Evangelist here at CTC, and today we're going to talk about essential Hive navigation. So you probably saw our last presentation, which was the essentials or a comprehensive demonstration of Hive. And perhaps you've already got this installed. And now you want a little bit more detail about how the user interface really can interface itself with Revit or with Hive or with searching in general. Like how does an end user kind of leverage this tool set? So here we're going to talk about basic searching and filtering. We're going to kind of cover some of the common searches and the common methods of saving searches that you'll have inside of Hive. And as an end user, this will be a fantastic essentials session for you. This will tell you everything you need to know about Hive navigation, really. As an admin, if you're an admin of Hive, this is going to help you understand some of the importance of library setup and some of the controls that you'll have access to, and what some of the settings mean for future use by end users, how they're going to consume this content. All right, so this is what we're going to talk about. We're going to cover searching, filtering, saving searches. We're going to talk about using the Discover portion of Hive, and we're also going to talk about consuming content. We're going to start with the Windows program of Hive, and then we're going to transition over into the Revit portion, the Revit Add-In specifically, because there's a couple of extra filters you get inside of Revit that are very Revit specific, and so we'll talk about those within the environment of Revit itself. Let's jump right in. Let's talk about Hive itself here. So out on your desktop, you may have the Hive add-in itself. I have Hive sitting out here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and open up Hive, and we're going to start by leveraging it. Now I'm going to log in as my demo user. This is a lower right user. It basically is a very basic level, an entry level user with, of course, my password. I'm going to go ahead and log into Hive, and I'm going to start searching for something. Now, when you're searching for something in Hive, you can do something as simple as putting in just a keyword search. Like, hey, I'm looking for something on, I don't know, let's do templates, right? Just put in template. If I could spell, that might work better. Template. And then I could find whatever is appropriate in here for some kind of template document. So in this case, a Revit manual template as a DOC file, or a starter project template, review template here as a document, DOCX, right? It doesn't really matter the file format. Any of the files themselves can show up inside of Hive, so you can search for whatever's been added into Hive straight through here. Now, if you do open up a file, let's talk quickly here about consuming some content. If I find something that I want, like this file here, that's a DOTX, this is a Word document template file. If I double click on this out of Hive, just like what would happen in Windows, it's going to go ahead and open up Word, and it's going to start me in an unnamed document because this is a document template that I clicked on. Now, if I go over here to File and just hit the basic Save command, not Save As, just Save, Word is going to pull up Save As anyway because this was a document template, and it's an unnamed document that it opened me into. So you get to browse to where you want to save that. So users can consume templates out of Hive, and whatever the double-click functionality is out of Windows, that is the same kind of functionality that they will get in the Hive environment. All right, now let's talk about a little bit of further filtering. If I wanted to narrow these results down, because some of these files are coming out of different libraries, like Standards and Procedures has its own template, and there's other things in the Standards and Procedures library as well. So if I wanted to narrow my search down by library, I can simply go here to the different buckets that were set up by the admins, however they organize this system, and I could filter directly to that overarching library. So let's say I wanted to find something in Standards and Procedures. I could check that option, and then up here when I'm searching for template again, what will happen is it'll only return me results that match template as a keyword search as a part of the file name or some of the tag information, but it's only going to return those results out of the Standards and Procedures library. That's it. It won't pull out of anywhere else because that's just how Hive is going to work. I'm filtering to that specific library. You do also have the option here to filter by tags. So if you drop this list down and there's certain tags you wanted to go for, you could certainly find that information as well. Let me pull this major search off of here for now. Let me get rid of my library search. And let's just say I only wanted to find content that was Imperial content. Maybe this is like Revit Imperial content. I'm doing kind of a Revit-like search here while I'm in the Windows program, but let's just see what happens here when I search for this. In this case, my search criteria is going to be everything, so I'm going to put in a star at the top. This will return all of the results across my entire system, my entire Hive organization system here that is basically tagged as Imperial. So in this case, out of the box Revit content. And if I scroll down far enough, most likely, if I keep going here, I'll find something. There's a lot of out-of-the-box content. I probably should filter some other library here. Let's say I go for Revit MEP Productivity Pack content, and I search everything that's going to be Imperial content out of there. Okay, in this case, it'll find me stuff specifically to that library and that has the Imperial tag associated to it. Now, there might be other tags, like MEP Productivity Pack, MEPP, that might be a tag that I put on there, or mechanical or electrical, depending on what it is I'm working with. So you could filter based on those tags as well. If I only wanted to find content in this case that was mechanical content, or that was tagged both as Imperial and mechanical, or I should say it's actually an or filter here, Imperial or mechanical. In this case, I'll just do the mechanical. Again, when I search all, this will only return things that actually have mechanical as one of the tags, again, in the Revit MEP Productivity Pack library. So you have the ability to filter this information. Now, if you're going to use these filters or these searches regularly, you can actually save your search. To save a search in Hive, what you're going to do after you've run your search and you get the results that you're generally expecting, you can go here to the Save option on the little toolbar just to the right of the search area. You can go to Save. When you click on Save, you can give this search a name. So I can call this something like All Imperial Content in the MEP Productivity Pack library. Okay? Call it out however you want to. This name search is all about whatever you want to use to identify this in the future. Nobody else sees this. These libraries at this current point in time, they're all private to you. So these are your saved searches, saved to your username. You can give them descriptions if you want. Again, this is for yourself, so don't really worry about that. If your name is descriptive enough, then you don't really need the actual description there. And I'm going to go ahead and save this. Now, when I save that search, I can go back and recall that search whenever I feel it's appropriate. So I can go to this little saved search option right here, drop the list down, and call up any search that I want out of this list. So if I'm looking for rectangular air terminals in this case, I can search for that. I searched for REC in the past, looking again in the Revit MEP Productivity Pack library, just at Imperial content, but this time instead of searching everything, I was searching only things that had REC as a part of the name. Now in this case, I'm also getting things like recessed down lighting, which is not just rectangular, like this says here, rectangular air terminals. I didn't put in air terminals as a part of my search, I just put in REC. So I'm getting everything here. Or perhaps because I'm just in the Windows program, I'm not getting the full saved search. That said, let's actually go into Revit and see what happens when we run this exact same search in the Revit environment. And I mention that because over here, the filters, when you're in the Windows program, give you fewer filters. It's not giving you all of the Revit filters because they're not relevant. You're not in Revit, and Hive itself is not just Revit content. So since I'm kind of focusing this portion of the searching on Revit content, let's go into Revit and run the searches there. So I'm going to open up Revit. I'm going to reopen up Hive. It brings me back in as that same user in this case. I'm going to go ahead and run my exact same saved search here, rectangular air terminals. Give this thing a second to load. And now you'll notice that when I pull up that exact same search, it does the REC, it does the Revit MEP Productivity Pack, it looks at the Imperial tags, but now, because I'm in Revit, I end up with 3 additional bits of search criteria or filter criteria. First of all, only giving me back Revit content. That's an important one. So when you're in Revit, by default, Hive only returns Revit content when you're searching. Now you can uncheck that, of course, and you can search for stuff and not have just Revit content returned if you wanted to open up Word documents or PDFs or whatever. But by default, that's what it's going to do. Also, it's looking explicitly at the Revit Category air terminals. Now this time, when I searched REC, because I'm only searching air terminals, I'm getting just rectangular air terminals. And now that search bit right there, rectangular air terminals, makes a little bit more sense. Because in the Revit context, it's able to search based on a couple of more filtered properties here. That's some of the basic searching, right? You can search based on keyword, you can filter all day long, you can save your searches, and you can recall your searches over here. So at any point in time, you can do any of those major steps. Let's talk about another way of finding content. We have the ability here to use a feature called Discover. Now, search and Discover, they both look in the same pool of content. It just goes about finding it a slightly different way. And when you're dealing with Revit content, sometimes the Discover method might be more meaningful for you. Let's take a look at air terminals again and discover some air terminals based on some of their properties, or some mechanical equipment or whatever based on their properties. If I click on Discover here, Hive does want me to look at the a specific library or collection of libraries. Now you can go over here and just search all libraries if you really want to, but if you know kind of where you're going, it's usually best to kind of filter to a specific collection of libraries. So in this case, I can go directly to Revit content, and I can just grab my Revit content libraries here, and that's all I'll be searching. I'll be ignoring all of the other libraries of content like the AutoCAD or Dynamo content or my help documentation. Don't care. I just want the Revit content. So I'm going to start there. Now, while I was reading this information into Hive, I may very well have gotten some text files in this list. So what I'm going to do is look up extension. And if I could spell, maybe I just put extend instead of here. There we go. And it should be, let's see, file extension. Yeah, so you can see here I've got BAT files, DAT, RFAs, RVTs, slogs, and text files. I probably don't need a number of these. I should probably clean up my Revit library a little bit, but for now, that'll work. What I want to do, though, is I want to specifically return back to myself anything that is RFAs. Now look at, I can actually do RVTs and RFAs, either one. In this case, I want just loadable family files, and that's all I want to return. So when I do that, it's going to start by filtering this information right away and giving me all of the RFAs in my library. It also, and you probably didn't notice this directly, but it also automatically reset my filters up here, so whatever I typed in goes away, and it now filters out for just Revit family content in just those parameter values. So this is all the other properties about that. So now let's just say I want to go for a specific category. So if I type in here, you know, category or CAT, I can find Revit Category as one of the options, and this will list out all of the categories that actually exist in this collection of libraries and all the other, and of course all that are RFAs. So I can go in here and do something like, well, let's go for mechanical equipment perhaps. Do I have any mechanical equipment in here? Doesn't look like I have. That's all right. Let's just go for air terminals. Possibly I haven't loaded my mechanical equipment in just yet. So I'm going to go here to air terminals. It'll only return then air terminal content in the first place from any place in my library. Now I can further filter this library set down if I want to, or I can start looking for things just like airflow. Give me just objects that match a 400 CFM airflow or whatever property it is that I want. So if I say, let's just say, I don't know, 180 CFM, if I want that as the property. Notice now when I'm looking at the filter attributes, even though I have nothing typed in, it's only returning a small collection of the parameter values that it was earlier, because the objects that are in my list now only have these properties total amongst them that are different, that vary them somehow. So that's very important because you can now really filter down your information very quickly directly to the parameter values stored within the actual content and begin to find what you're looking for, and then ultimately when you found what you want, drag and drop that into your design environment. So now this kind of content here really isn't going to be meaningful for the type of project I have opened up in the background. My project is actually an architectural project. So let me clear some of these filters like the air terminals and the CFM properties, and let's go for a different category of objects. Let's go for a category that is going to be something like doors. Let's grab doors out of this list perhaps. Why don't I have doors? Well, let's get rid of this file extension here and see what else I've got. So let's try this again. Category. Category. Not category, I'm sorry, Revit Category. That's what I'm looking for. That might have been why I might have gone to the wrong directory there. And I want to grab doors. So as I grab this content, now I can find just door content here. I can start finding things that have a specific width perhaps. So if I put in width, or WIDT, I can filter down to something specific here and grab something like a 36-inch width door. This is, again, going to filter down my content now based on exactly what I've got available to me in my library. I could also grab stuff that has specifically a certain height, like 96 inches tall. Everything else that does not match that content goes away. So now if I go to a floor plan here, and I want to drop some content in, all I have to do is simply drag and drop this discovered content into my design environment. Let's pan over here and drop in a door, say, in this wall. So if I want to do like a single, a door passage single flush door, drag and drop, it'll give me my type catalog loading capabilities. I can pick whichever door is appropriate, like that 36-inch by 96 door that I was looking for, load that specific type, and ultimately drop it into my file because it's going to load it. It's going to then initiate the placement command for me as well. All right, there we go. So your consuming of content can either be double-clicking on a file if it's not really design software specific, or dragging and dropping into your design application and having it load that content and usually begin the placement command for it. All right, let's jump back over here to our PowerPoint and kind of finish this up today. Let's kind of talk about what we've discovered. Hive allows searching all content really in Hive independent of folder. You can search anywhere. That we didn't actually look at Windows folder structure at all. This was all about the library it was in, completely independent of the folder structure. Hive searches all the metadata of the files, including any kind of custom tagging that you may have put on there. So as an admin, your tagging can be important, allowing users to filter by those tags. Your common searches as an end user can be saved and they can be reused. The Revit Add-In has some additional search properties. We kind of noticed that. So you can actually further filter stuff for specifically Revit, and you can really dig deep into the Revit parameters and their values by searching based on the discover functionality inside of Hive. That way, you can really find exactly what it is you're looking for, really filter those results down, and get to something that is meaningful in a very rapid time frame. Instead of searching through Windows folder structures using the traditional load command, and trying to load something, realizing it wasn't the right thing, and then loading some more objects. You can really discover what you want right away. Both search and discover can be fantastic. It's up to you really to decide which one is better for you in your current searching scenario.